This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, I welcome you all into this Dell Boomi session. In the last session, we talked about how to get started with a small process in Boomi. We try to understand that what are the different runtimes we have in Boomi, which is the simplest runtime we have in the Boomi.
Atom.
Atom is the simplest or the smallest runtime we have in Boomi. Does it support high availability?
No.
No,
No,
it
it does not.
doesn't.
It does not support high availability, right? It is a single tenant, single noded offering, single tenant and single noded offering, right? All right. So what are the different offerings, or what are the different types of licenses or licensing offering we have from Boomi?
Base, Professional, Pro Plus.
Very
Enterprise
nice.
and
All right. That's nice. We have base, pro, pro plus. Pro stands for professional, as I was telling yesterday. Enterprise, and then enterprise plus, right? So did you guys get a chance to look in the table which they offer and that comparison? Has anybody looked at it? Or nobody looked at it? All right, if you have not looked at it, let's look at this. This all is important, guys. So if I ask you to, go ahead and check few things, please do that. Uh, all right, so here you see base, professional, pro plus, enterprise, enterprise plus, right? There are certain standard features. Okay, so if you want to see standard features, you can go here and you see which are there in all of these. Then in this, we have a support only for production environment, right? There is only one environment, whereas this supports, if you remember yesterday, I told you there are only two classifications as per Boomi, right? There is no classification like dev, right? So either anything you configure in Boomi is either prod or test. You can name the environment whatever you want, right? But from Boomi standpoint, we have only two classifications. So what I'm trying to say you is, even if you want to configure dev environment, you can always do that. It's not that you cannot do that, but that dev environment of yours will map to test classification of Boomi, right? So there are some advanced workflows. What falls in the advanced workflow? Components like process call, version control, right? These all things. Then there is service enablement, right? Service enablement means some real-time integrations. There is concept of atom worker, parallel processing, advanced security, right? So these all are falling in the uh, advanced security is available in the enterprise and enterprise plus, right? So these are the comparisons. You can look at it. There are some enterprise connectors also. For example, Oracle e-business suite connector, SAP connector. Those are again part of enterprise and enterprise plus. So what I'll do is, just to make your life easy, I will paste this link in my notepad, and I will be sharing all these notepads along. So if you want to take a look at it in your free time, you can always do that. All right, so what we did is, how many types of logs we talked about?
process log,
So whenever we run a process in Boomi, we talked about some types of logs we can see, right?
shape logs, and process.
Very nice. We have two types of logs. And those are shape level logs and process level logs, right? I think we talked about the installation of Atom also. Is there anyone who has completed the installation of Atom?
Yes, Sumit.
I have installed.
Very nice. So those of you who haven't installed, please go ahead and do that, because we will not be able to do much without installation of Atom, right? And whenever you install an Atom, right, uh, so it will always have some kind of provision which enables you to basically connect with the platform, right, or the account with which this account or this Atom will get tied up, right? So if, let's say, I do not want to share the credentials of the platform to the individual who is doing the installation, what other mechanism do I have to make sure
Token.
that the
Token.
We can token.
okay, we can use token while installing the Atom to tie the Atom with an account. Can a single Atom be tied up to more than one account?
No.
No. Why it cannot be done? Because as I told you, it is a single tenant offering, right? All right. So I think you guys understand most of it. Many of you are answering, which is good to hear. Okay.
Yes.
So
Question. This is Mahesh actually. So is there
yeah,
any
Mahesh.
difference when we are installing this in MacBook comparing to Windows, or is it
Yeah,
hard to
I think there is a slight difference. There is a tweak which we might need to do. Ideally, they do not give any separate installable for MacBook. They have two, one for Windows, another for Linux. But many of my trainees used to have like MacBooks, and they have been able to do the installation. I think there is a slight workaround for that, but it should be doable.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you are not aware, I can help you with that. Okay. I,
Okay.
I have not installed personally on MacBook because I don't own a MacBook, but I should be able to help you.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So with Atom being in place, what are the different nature of integrations we can achieve? Or what are the different types of integration we can achieve? Can we achieve all hybrid on-prem cloud integrations with Atom, or we can achieve only some specific types of integration?
Everything we can achieve, all the three.
We can achieve all the three.
We can achieve all three different types of integration. And what are those different types? On-prem integration. What is on-prem integration? When both source and target, all your applications are behind the corporate firewall. We can also achieve cloud integrations. What do we mean by cloud integration? When your source and target applications are on cloud, right? And hybrid integration. What is the meaning of hybrid integration? When one of the application is on cloud and other is
On-prem.
on-premise. Yes. So we can achieve all these different types of integration with the help of Atom. Now we'll go back to our platform. I hope all of you have got the access to the platform. If you do not have access, please do let me know, because it becomes very crucial for all of you to have the access and log in and try, right? Do not create a backlog for yourself wherein you think I'll do it, and then that's not going to happen. That's not going to fly. You will lose the pace, you will lose the interest gradually. So make sure you log in into this, whatever options I talked about, right? You explore those options. And if you have any questions, please bring it up to me. Okay, you can discuss with me, because that's only the advantage of the live sessions, right? So please make sure you're doing it regularly, right? All right. So which is the core component we have in Boomi?
Process.
Yes.
Process is the core component. So we have multiple types of components, right? And the one component without which we cannot develop any integration is a process component. And within a component, we have different types of shapes, right? Shapes will help you to basically manipulate the data or change the flow of control, or to basically connect with different types of application. So yesterday we started with the start shape and the stop shape. Many of you might feel that from 2 days he's talking about only these two shapes. Okay, when we'll move ahead, we'll go ahead. Don't worry, I'll cover everything. Even we need to spend another extra 5 hours, we'll do that. But I just want to make sure that all of you understand each and everything, right? If your base is rock solid, then learning a shape is not a big challenge, okay? But your fundamentals have to be very, very solid is what I feel. The next question is, do shapes have any kind of revision history?
No. No, Sumit.
No.
It doesn't have, yeah.
Components
Okay, so
has.
okay, components have the revision history, very good. If now the process is a component, if I want to see the revision history of the component, where can I find it?
Right side corner, down.
Very nice. We can find the revision history here. So we started with the version 1 and now we are on the version 23rd, right? So if I hit the save button, will the version increase? If I just keep on hitting the save
If you
button?
make any change, it will not, yeah.
No, no. If there is no change, the version will not change.
It
Okay,
will.
so it will not change if I hit the save button, right? It will only change when I make a change either in the configuration or else if I move these components from like, or if I move these shapes like this. Logic wise, I did not make any change, but now if I hit the save button, if I go to the revision history, your revision history increments. And the reason also was explained that behind the scene, whatever you are doing over here, there is a XML file which gets generated. That XML file will have all the details. Okay, so what is that XML file? If you want to look at it, this is that XML file. Can you see there is XML file? Yesterday I was talking about one XML file. Can you see this has some coordinates also? Shape 1 to shape 2, X coordinate, Y coordinate. Yes or no? So even if these coordinates are changing, your revision history is changing. Does that make sense? Does it give you a little more clarity on what is happening behind the scene?
Yes.
Yes. So we have a process as a component, and within process we have got shapes. Within shape we have got a start shape, right? Start shape has its own configuration. Then there is a drag point, right? What is the meaning of drag point? That wire which is joining, right? Then there is another shape, right? So those all, you don't need to bother about this. Nobody is going to ever ask you, but you must know what is happening behind the scene. If not 100%, but at least if you have an idea, that makes your life a little easier. All right. So now for any shape to execute, what is the most important thing to have?
Document.
Very nice.
Doc.
Okay, so start shape is most important thing for any process to exist, which is correct. But for any shape to execute, the most important thing is a document, right? If you remember yesterday, we observed without a document acting on a shape, the shape doesn't get executed, right? So to make sure that your flow of control moves from one shape to another, you have to make sure that there is a document which is being passed on to that shape, or else that shape doesn't get executed, right? So I think we talked about all these things. The reason why I'm repeating all these things, so because these document, atom, process, these all are new words for you, right? So I just want to make sure you're familiar. Right now, if I want to test this process, what is the way? How can I test it out?
Uh,
Click on
right
the
side top
Run
corner, you
test on the
button.
right.
All right, so on the top right, there is a test button. I can click here. So it is asking me to save the stuff and it is asking me to select the atom. So yesterday we installed this atom, April batch dev atom. Okay. And I can click on run test. Okay, how many types of star shape do we have?
4 types.
4 types.
4
Very
types.
nice. Yeah,
Connector, trading
we have a lot of
partner.
women power in our batch. I don't hear any men speaking. There is all females are speaking. Good to hear that. We have 4 types. Absolutely correct. What are those?
Connector, trading partner, data pass through, no data.
No data.
Very nice. So right now we are using no data type. And what does no data type of Starship do? It produces an empty
Empty
document,
document.
right? Why does it produce an empty document? Because if it will not produce any document, the control will never move to the subsequent shape. In order to make sure that the control moves to the subsequent shape, that's where a document is required, and the start shape of no data type make sure an empty document is passed to the stop shape. Now if you come to the stop shape and you see shape source data, do we have an empty document? Yes or no?
Yes,
You can
yes.
see the size over here. What is the size? 0 bytes, which means it is an empty document. Okay, so I think we understand all these things. Any questions from anyone before we move ahead? Are you guys comfortable with the navigation? Anyone who is feeling I don't understand what is the how to create a folder, how to create a process? Anyone who is finding difficulty with that part? If at all you are finding any kind of difficulties, some of you have recently got the access to the platform, then please do let me know. Okay, I can make sure that you're comfortable, because it is very, very significant that you do get yourself familiarized with all these navigations. All right, so we'll get started now. Yeah,
One
yeah,
minute. Just now you explained. I'm not getting it. Like start shape of no data type produces empty document to that's the reason that I'm not getting it.
okay. So yesterday, do you remember we tried configuring a start shape of connector type?
Yeah.
We used a disconnector, and that was not producing any document,
Yes.
because there was no document lying with that name, or there was no file lying with the name in the D drive of my system. So in that case, what happened is, if you might have observed, that stop shape didn't get executed.
Yes.
Why it didn't get executed? Because no document was passed to the stop shape.
Mhm.
So for any shape to execute, some document has to act on top of it, or some document should be given as given as an input. If you will not give any document as an input to a shape, that shape itself will not get executed.
Mhm. Yeah, that I understood. But you said that to push control, that I'm not getting that.
So control means, see, right now you start from here, then the control will go here. When the control will go here, when there is a document to pass. If there is no document to pass, the control will not go here. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, but if we use start shape of connector type and we have passed the right file, like we have passed
Then it
the
will move.
file path
Then
given
it will
right,
move.
yeah, then it will move. So yeah, then it will move. But so what is the what is the significance of start shape with no data? That I'm not getting.
Okay, a good question. A very good question. Why we need a star shape of no data type? So the answer is, let's say we started with the star shape of connector type, right? Or we start with a star shape of no data type. What is the difference? And this is an important interview question also. That why do we need a star shape of no data type? I typically cover this in my sessions. So, but I'll answer it right away over here. So now what happens is, as a developer, right? Or as an architect, you would want to make sure that whatever processes you're developing, you have some kind of error handling around those. Yes or no?
Yes.
Because so that if something, so right now we have only star shape, but in between we are planning to add so many other shapes also, because right now we have just started, right? This is my starting point, this is my ending point, but in between these 2 points I need to configure so many other things, right? So now what I would want as a developer or as an architect is that whatever I do, that should somehow be done in such a way that if something breaks or if something errors out, I should have a mechanism to handle that error. Okay, and the shape which helps us to do that is a, so if you go here, there is a try catch shape. There is a try catch shape which will help you to do the error handling. So I'll drag and drop over here and understand this. What I'll try to do is, after a star shape, immediately I will add a try catch shape. Okay. and I will, as a best practice, I will make sure that whatever I do within this try catch, because if something errors out, I will always have a mechanism to handle that error. Those people who do not know, who are new to programming, should understand try catch is a mechanism which allows us to do the robust error handling. How does this work? Is typically try will, whatever you do in the try will get executed, and if anything fails, control will come to catch, right? Is there anyone who has not heard about try catch earlier? So in Java also we used to have this try catch, right? So we will have a try block where we will try something, and then we will have a catch block, right, where you can basically catch any kind of errors. So your actual logic will, you will write here your actual logic, something like this, and if something errors out, you will have the logic over here. So now, since we do not do any kind of coding here in Boomi, so they have given this in the graphical representation way, where they have a shape for this. So whatever you want to, whatever logic you want to write, you will typically write with the try, and in the catch you will just have an error handling logic, right? Now coming back to your question, Priyanka, let's say I have a start shape of no data type, right? So I can always ensure that any logic I write can be part of the try catch block. Okay, but let's say if I start with a start shape of connector type, this is one which we created yesterday. I will just take some dummy details for now. Yeah, now this is a start shape of connector type. Now just think about scenario, if this connector fails, will I be able to handle that error?
No,
Why no?
because after start shape we have put that try catch shape. That's why.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Your answer is 100% correct. And since we will have one shape uncovered in the error handling, that's why whenever we are developing these batch kind of integrations, or we recommend to start with a start shape of no data type, so that I can cover all the possible errors in all the different shapes. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Yep. So now we have added a new shape, try catch shape. Now, based on the knowledge you have acquired so far, can anybody tell me in which category should this try catch shape fall? Should it be under execute category, logic category, or connect category? I will give the definitions. Execute category is used to do all the data manipulations and the transformations. Logic category has the capability to change the flow of control, right?
It will be in logic, yeah.
And connect category helps you to talk with the different end systems. So definitely it is not in connect. As far as even I don't know, but
Execute
as far as
category.
my knowledge goes, it should be in the logic category. So we will see logic category. Do you see a try catch shape at the last?
But Sumit, my view is it should be logic and connect both, because sometime in Java I need to put the code inside the try block, because sometime connection need to be released. So here in Boomi, how it is happening, I don't know.
So that is all behind the scene. Okay, that releasing connection and all, that is all behind the scene. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be again happening in Java only here in Boomi, but that is all happening behind the scene.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want, you can have this shape. Now let's talk about a scenario where you have something like this, right? And you have a try catch shape lying like this on the process canvas. Will it create any error? Or what do you think? Which all shapes will get executed?
Execute.
Start and stop.
Yeah, because it is not
Any
connected with
shape,
start shape.
any shape which is not connected to the start shape directly or indirectly, right? So because start is the starting point, or it marks the commence of the beginning of the execution. So any shape you want to get executed should be directly or indirectly connected to the start shape. If there is a shape which lies on the canvas, but it is not connected to any other shapes, it may not give any error, but that shape doesn't get executed. Let me run this. Because all these small things, it is important for people to know, and that's how you will differ. I mean, a lot of people attend the training, go for the interview, but when you work in real time, then only you will know these small things. So you see start shape and stop shape get executed. The strike as shape is lying over here. That does not create any issue. All right. Okay, so now let's get started. Now we'll start with a use case. Okay, we'll start with a small use case. So first of all, I want to read, let's say, the employees data from a file. We want to read the employees data from a file. Okay, let's say this is a XML file, right? So whenever anybody says file, you should have a question, which type of file is that? I'm saying it is an XML file, and we will start with reading one employee data. Let's say this file has only one employee data at a time. Ideally, that will never be the case in real time. Very rarely we will have that kind of scenario, but let's assume there is one employee data in one file, and there can be multiple files of that sort. Okay, you have to read the data. Right now, when employee joins the organization, the employee might belong to different geographies. Let's say I have my office in India, I have my office in US, and I have my office in UAE. At three different places I have my offices. So whenever an employee joins, right, a file related to the employee's data gets generated, and it is residing in a file system. I need to read that file. I need to check the location of the employee, and maybe based on the location of the employee, I need to decide the notice period of the employee. If the employee is in US, the notice period is, let's say, 15 days. If the employee is in India, let's say the notice period is in 90 days. And if the employee is in UAE, let's say the notice period is 7 days. Okay, I'm just taking a hypothetical example. I don't know what is the standard notice period in UAE, but let's assume that. And what happens is, so when this file is read, let's say the file looks like this: employee. I know some of you might not know XML, which is fine. We will learn it. What does XML stand for?
Extensible markup
External
language.
markup language.
Very nice. It stands for extensible markup language. Okay, so any other language, any other markup language you can think about?
HTML.
Very nice. HTML, right? We use day to day, right? Whenever we are browsing the web pages, all those web pages are built using HTML only. But HTML and XML are two different things, right? So whenever we want to work on XML, which stands for extensible markup language, you can represent the information with the help of elements, and these are called as elements, right? And each starting element will have a corresponding closing element. Okay, could I name this, instead of employee, could I make the name as employees also? I can do that. There is no such restriction on the name of elements. You can always choose the name of the element yourself. Typically, a XML file will start with the XML prologue, which looks like this. There is an encoding format which is internally used by XML parser. So what is this called as? XML prologue. Yeah, and this is how you write comments in XML file. How do you write comments? Angular bracket, exclamation mark, hyphen, hyphen, then you can write whatever you want, right? For example, you can write this is a sample file, sample XML file. So these are comments, right? Comments never execute. These are here just to make the file more readable and understandable. Are you guys following me so far?
Yes, Sumit.
Another important thing is whenever you're writing XML file, right? A root element is mandatory in XML file. We cannot have a XML file without a root element. We cannot have a XML file without a root element. What does that mean? That you cannot have a XML file which looks like this. Let me show you. First name Sumit and then last name Agarwal. Okay, so if I write like this, then this is not a legitimate XML file because these two elements must have a root element. Okay, these two elements must have a root element. So if I want to make this data which is part of an XML file to be a legitimate XML file, what I can do is I can create a root element like this. Now this becomes a legitimate XML file, right? So some of the basic rules you have to follow while writing an XML file is a root element is mandatory, right? When I say root element, the name of the element can be anything. The name of the element could be like this also, root. Yes, but it is mandatory to have a root element. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, Sumit.
All right. Then the next point is each starting element must have a corresponding closing element. Each starting element must have a corresponding closing element. If you have a start element, then there has to be corresponding closing element. You cannot have an XML file wherein you just have the starting element and you don't write the closing element. Another important rule. The third rule, which is again very important, is all the elements are case sensitive. What do we mean by case sensitive?
Like capital or small letters, this needs to be taken care.
Exactly. So if you have started the element, so we don't call this as tags. Some people still call it as tags. In XML, the keyword to denote these is element. Now when you are writing an element with this, you should not close the element like this. For XML parser, these are two different things. So you have to make sure that whatever name you had chosen while starting the element, you are choosing the same name while closing the element, or else it's going to create an issue. So see, ideally, I'm not required to cover all these things, but I know some people do not know XML. And if I write some stuff, they will keep on thinking, what does that XML indicate? And they will miss the actual point. So is there anyone who does not understand this? Okay, I think we are good so far. So can we write like this? Name. Then let's say we are writing location. I'm sorry. Okay, let's say I will start small. Okay, instead of doing too many things at a time, we'll start with this much data. So how many employees data do we have as of now?
One.
Only one.
Only one employee data, right? So before you start proceeding with anything, what you always have to do is you have to go on over the internet, or you can have some utility also. You can use some kind of XML validators. You can check whether your XML is valid or not. So I will paste it over here and I'll say validate. Okay, I don't think so. It is saying no errors were found. Yes or no? You have some better validators also. This does not look to be so good to me, right? But your will go back, will get the better one. Okay, we'll go to XML validator. Hold on. Okay, we'll paste over here, and there is an option called as validate. No errors found, right? It means here this is fine. Sometimes if it is not formatted properly, you can write beautify. So if you see if you do a beautify, this gets properly intended. Indentation, not intended, indentation is taken care. So now it looks more better, or more representable, or more understandable, right? So this is my XML file, right? So now what I want to do is I want to create a file out of this. How can I do that? So I'll go here, right in this directory, I will create a new directory, let's say employees. And in this employee directory, let's say I have a new file. I'll come here, I'll paste this data, I'll save as employee 101.xml. One important thing which we have missed, I'll tell you what. I'll delete this file. This is an XML file. I'll open again. So now this all is fine. One thing which we should typically have is, what we should have, we must have some kind of employee ID, right? For any data, for employee data, typically it makes sense, right? That there has to be some kind of employee ID, that which will be a unique identifier for an employee. Let's say it is 101. I mean, even if you don't have, there was nothing wrong, but it is good to have some kind of employee ID also. All right, so this is the data which is there in the XML format, which is over here. So we'll take the path of this directory, right? Or else what I'll do is I'll take this file. Okay, I'll go here, and there is a read directory. I'll create a new directory here. Okay, so I want to use this directory for playing around. Any doubt so far? All right, if I want to go back to my platform now, whenever you want to connect with some third-party application, right? What do you need? Whenever you want to, yes,
Connector.
whenever you want to talk with any touch point means end system. Whenever you want to do that, you need some kind of connector, right? Now for the, I want to read a file which is residing in my machine. So which type of connector should I choose?
Disk.
Disk connector.
Why disk connector and why not FTP connector? So to perform file related operations, let me tell you, there is a disk connector. Again, there is disk and there is disk v2. Now sometimes people might ask you, what is this v2? V2 means version number 2. This is more advanced than this. Okay, so for so many connectors you might see v2. Can you see for SFTP also there is v2? There is for FTP for v2. For Workday Prism Analytics there is v2. So whenever they see, okay, there can be a new version, and I mean new version in the sense they are giving some major enhancements. So Boomi comes up with a version 2 of the connector. Okay, they have got disk connector, they have got FTP connector, they have got SFTP connector, right? How do you decide which connector I need to choose? So if you're planning to read the file from the machine where your Atom is installed, you have to go for disk connector. Now where is the Atom installed right now? In my machine only, right?
Your local, yes.
Yes, so I can use a disk connector. I will hit OK. So now can I start my process directly with a disk connector? Can I do something like this? First disconnector and then start shape. Is it possible?
No.
It's not possible.
But
It's not
you
possible.
can do it start shape like a start connector with of disk type something.
Yeah, that is possible. You're right. We can have a start shape of connector type where we configure connector as a disconnector. That is quite possible, but we cannot have a disconnector as my starting point. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start with a start shape where we have a try catch, right? What kind of help try catch will do? It will help in the error handling, right? Right now I'm not sure what type of error handling what I want to do. So if you are not sure, you can leave that as a placeholder. Yeah, you are leaving some place for it, and later on you can decide what you want to do. Are you guys following me?
Yeah.
Placeholder means you are not sure what exactly you want to do at this point in time, but you are leaving a provision that I'll take care of it later on. Yeah. Then there is a disconnector. Okay, now connectors are very, very important because your licensing is directly proportional to the number of connections you consume, right? And in Boomi, it is recommended to make sure that you store all your connections at one common place. So what I mean is, right now, if you remember, we created one folder. Yes. And in that we created another folder, then there is subfolder, and whatever we are doing so far is part of that folder itself, right? So what I'm saying is, in Boomi, it is recommended to have a common folder to store all your connections, and different developers who are building different integrations should reuse the connections. So what is the recommendation? That you go here and you create a new folder, maybe something like hash connections. Okay, you create something like hash connections. Now where can you find it? Can we find hash connections somewhere? Okay, I did something wrong or what? Let me try again. Can you see a new folder got created, hash connections?
Yeah.
Yes. Why I have created this folder? Because it is a recommendation to basically store all your connections over here, so that it is easier for all the different people working on different integrations to choose the connections from here, right? And why we want to reuse the connections?
For budget purpose.
Yes.
Licensing of Boomi is based on number of connections we used.
Very nice. Because the licensing of the Boomi is directly impacted on the fact that how many number of connections you're consuming. So just understand this, even if you make two different connections for disk, it is considered as two connection licenses. Don't think that I'm using disk connector at 100 different places and I configure different connections, it will still count it as one. That's not going to happen. If you're using a disk connector and if you're using the same connection everywhere, then it will count it as one connection. Maybe you can develop 100 integrations, right? So let's say today I have a process with the name sync employees data. Tomorrow I can have process sync salaries data. I may have process sync leaves data. I may have process sync some new candidates data. If I'm using the same disk connection everywhere, though these all might be different integrations, but I will be charged single connection license. But the moment I start creating the separate connection, then it becomes a problem because my licensing cost increases exponentially, right? And that is why I am recommending that whenever you create a connection in which folder? In some common folder. And as a practice, we will make sure that all the developers who are working, right? So let's say within a company there may be 5 developers, right? So this has to be a standard which needs to be followed by all the 5 developers, that they should not create the connection at all. There must be some lead person who should take the responsibility of creating a connection, and that lead person should make sure that the connection is always lying over here, or else it can be taken care by individually also, but eventually you have to make sure that you are storing all the connections at one place and you are reusing them. So we'll go here. Now we are on connector, right? So here it is saying disk. What kind of action we want to do? We want to send the data or we want to get the data?
Get the data.
Get. So a lot of people, when they are starting, what they will do? They will do send and they will do all the configurations and then they will ping me, my disconnector is not returning any data. This is a common mistake I have seen. Out of 10 people I will have in a batch, minimum 2 or 3 people will do the same mistake. They will not select the right action. And if you do not select the right action, Boomi does not throw any error, but it will not give you any kind of data and you get confused why things are not working for you. So please make sure you make a note of all the configurations, right? We have to choose get over here. The next important thing is connection. So now whenever you are working on any connector, each connector in Boomi leverages two different components. What are those?
Connection and connect operation.
Very nice. Each connector in Boomi leverages two different components. The first component is connection. Connection is a component, yes, which will help you to establish the connectivity with the end system. Or else you can say, in order to establish the connectivity with the end system, whatever connection details you need, that will lie in this connection component. And what will operation component do?
It will let us know what operation should be done from
Yes, it will define
And
the
what
action
action we have to, yeah, against that
you want to
connection.
perform. Exactly. After establishing the connection, what exact action we want to perform is defined by the operation. Very nice. Right. So what we will do is we'll go back here and we'll click on plus. So please name your connections properly. So I generally have a tendency to do like this disk, so that I understand this is a disk related connection. Okay, maybe I will give only disk. That's all. Or if you feel you may have multiple disk, maybe separate directories, you can give disk employee also. For now we will give only disk. That's all. And this is the directory. Yes, I'll hit save. I'll hit save and close. Okay, before I move to operation, I will just hit OK and I'll save my stuff. Now, did the connection get created in the under the connections folder? Connection folder is still empty, right? Isn't it? So what I'll have to do is I'll have to go to my connectors. Yes, there was something like AS to client, which by mistake got created. Maybe I was explaining you something yesterday. Let's delete that. We don't need it. So there is a disk connection which got created. So there are two disk connections. Which one belongs to us?
First one.
Disk.
First one. I will delete all the unnecessary ones. Some of them are here because we did some explanations yesterday, right? And I don't want to have any kind of unused things for now. So this is the connector or connection rather, which belongs to us. Yes. Now, if you are using this, you just drag like this and move to the connections folder. When you do that, you will observe that your connection is over here. Yes. And this is how you make sure that all the connections you create are part of the common folder. Are you guys following it?
yes, Sumit.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we'll come back here. Now the connection which you configured, you can observe things from here, from which directory it is coming. Is it automatically changing over here? So that refactoring is happening automatically, right? Earlier, it was not part of connections folder, but now can you see it is automatically reflecting as a part of connections folder? You made the change in the component explorer and the same change is reflecting over here. Yes or no?
So when you drag from here to there, is it copying that one or is it moving that one?
No, it is moving. It is not copying. It is moving that one.
Okay.
Okay. Now you always have an option to cross this. Cross means you don't have any connection. So every time you don't have to go and create a new connection, right? So for example, my lead created a connection for me and that connection is lying in the which folder? Common connections folder. So I don't need to go and hit plus button. What I'll do is I'll go into the search tab and I know my lead has designated a folder for this and that folder is this one. I'll go and select the connection. Does that make sense for you guys? Anyone who is confused with this?
Yes. Can you please repeat that one more time?
Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is, see, one thing is you go and click on plus and you create a new connection. But what I'm saying is, if you feel that something can be reused, you have to try to reuse. So let's say my team lead told me that I have already created a connection. You don't need to create a new one. You go and use that. So how can I use? How can I reuse? So what I'll do is I'll go to the search bar or the search option, and here I will see all the available disconnections. But where I will go is I'll go to that connections folder and I'll select that one. And I can click on this pencil button and I can observe, okay, it is the right connection. I'm happy with this. So I don't need to create a new connection every now and then. And I can just configure the operation as per my requirement.
Right. But if the disk is in any other folder, can I still use that? Reuse that?
This is a good question. So that can be done while writing, but I think for reading you will need to have a again new connection if you want to read from a different directory. Okay, for now my answer is no. We have to create a separate connection if your directory is going to change.
Okay.
Okay. So now we talk about operation. We click on plus. I will name my operation disk and let's say read employees data. Yeah, give the names which are meaningful. Now it is giving you the file filter. Okay, so how many files are there in the directory right now? Only one
One.
file.
Only one.
So if you want, you can leave it as is for now. I will leave it as is and I'll say save and close. Save and close. So now if you see your configuration looks complete, what I will do is I'll copy here a stop shape. Some people might ask me, if I don't have a stop shape, will it throw any error? Answer is it will not throw any error, but it is a standard or it is a good practice to have a stop shape. And so I could always go to this shape palette and I can get a shape, or else I can do a copy paste also like this. Yeah, you can remove also.
Sumit, I have
So
one question. Is there a only one type of a stop shape is there, or in types of also there in a stop shape?
there is only one stop shape which has two different
Okay.
properties, or which has one property which can have two different possible values. If you see, there is a property continue processing other execution paths. Okay, you can check or uncheck it. Now, how
Okay.
will it make a difference? I will tell you. But apart from this, we do not have any other stop shape.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay. So now we have developed a small process which is capable of reading the data from file system. What is the name of the file? employee101.xml. Yes. And we want to read that data. So can we test it now? Answer is yes. I'll run a test and I will see whether everything is working as expected or not. So what does this green color bold mark indicates? That
Executed.
these 4 shapes got executed and these are executed successfully. So we'll start with a star shape. Okay, star shape will produce which type of document over here? Empty
Empty
document, right?
document.
So empty document, yes.
So if you go to the try catch, you see some logs and you see shape source data. Can you see the size of the document? How many KBs? 0 KBs. Then the control goes to the disk connector. So what is going as an input to the disk connector? Again an empty document. Yes or no? Yes. Now in the disk connector, can you see there is something called as connection data? So Priyanka, coming back to your question which you were asking yesterday, now this
Yes.
connection data will be the data which is generated by this connector. Now what will this connector generate?
The XML file.
Very
Uh,
nice. So now you go to the connection data. Can you see it is showing some date? First of all, directory, name of the file, and what is the size? 0.19 KB. And if you click on view, can you see the same data over here?
Yes.
Now you go to the stop shape. So what will come as a input to the stop shape?
XML file.
That same XML file, right? So if you go here, you see the shape source data. You can see the XML file. So that means we have been successfully able to read the XML file from the directory. Any questions so far?
So a quick question here. So when from try cache it to disk, we are not sending any kind of data, right? So how we are getting that employee data to disk?
Okay. So the empty document which came from the star shape to the try cache shape, right? The same document traverses automatically.
That means there is no data, right?
Yes, there is no data, but as I told you, the Boomi works a little differently. For the Boomi, what matters is the document. Even if it is an empty document, it is fine. But a document should flow. If the document is flowing, the shapes will keep on executing, even though a document is an empty document. But a document needs to flow from one shape to another in order to make sure a individual shape gets executed. But if a document is not passed through, the shapes will not get executed. So in this case, start shape made sure that an empty document is generated. The same document got passed to the try catch shape and the same document got passed to the disk connector. If even though that document is empty, that's fine, doesn't matter, but a document has to exist. If there is no document, then these shapes might not have got executed.
Yeah, but in the disk, when you test that and when you click on the disk and go to the connection, you're seeing that employee data, right? That is what you showed us.
Okay, so that means, so that connection data means what got generated after this connection got executed, not so. Okay, let me hit it one more time. Come straight away to the disk. So there are some logs. There is shape source data. What is the source data size?
Okay, it's 0. So there's no data. Okay.
Now connection data means what is the resultant of this connection? You're performing some action over here, right? What is action you're performing? You're trying to read the file, and as a resultant of that, whatever gets generated goes into the connection data. Because this shape is of connector type, right? It is creating a connection, and as a result of that connection, whatever data is getting generated, that falls into the connection data category.
Yeah, so the here only we'll get the result. Is that right?
Yes, yes. You can see here, or you can go to the next shape, and there you can see the shape source data also. You can see at either of these places. So connection data basically will represent you or will try to show you the, so if let's say we were sending the data, then the connection data will show you whatever was sent. If you're trying to get the data, it will show you whatever was retrieved, right? As a part of that connection, whatever data is being exchanged is what you are going to see under the connection data. Am I clear on this? So once you establish a connection with any third party system, as a and during once the connection is established, you are going to do some kind of action, right? You are going to do some kind of operation, right? In that operation, whatever documents are generated, or whatever documents are generated, those will be represented as under connection data.
Got it, Sumit. Thank you.
So guys, any other questions from anyone? We will need to speeden up the pace. We are going really slow, but that's fine. But I hope you guys are following things until here, whatever we have covered.
Yes, Sumit.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll take a pause over here. We'll catch up tomorrow. We'll gradually, speeden up the things. Please make sure you go and access the platform, make yourself familiar, create some folders, create some connections, explore things. Do not confine yourself to what I'm doing. You can try some X number of different things also. But at the end of the day, make sure you have a platform, you have an Atom installed, you are able to run few processes. And please make sure whatever is being covered on a given day, you're practicing the same stuff in your free time.
So I have quick question, Sumit. So let's say if I download the Atom install in my local in my system, and if I use the same system in to my office, same for Dell Boomi, can I install the second Atom as well in the same system?
Yes. You can have two atoms in two different machines still tied to the same account also. For example, now I have one atom which is tied to this account which is running in my machine. I can install another atom in your machine, but I can give my credentials to attach it to the my account. That also is possible. Only thing is when you're using it, internet connection has to be there.
So
Does
I
that?
can install two atoms, right?
Yes, you can have.
Okay.
So your question was, let's say you have a office, you have a machine, right? Maybe your personal machine where you installed an atom, right? And now you have an office machine, right, where you want to install another atom. First of all, can we have two atoms? Answer is yes. And those two atoms can be attached to the same account. Answer is yes.
Yeah, if I'm using the same laptop for office as well.
Yeah. See, laptops do not matter. I mean, let's say you installed one atom in your office laptop, you installed one atom in your personal laptop, and for logging in, let's say you are using my laptop, still you can access both the atoms, provided that your machines are up and running and have the internet connection.
Okay.
I mean, just try these things out. I know theoretically it is a little difficult to absorb. Once you will try these things, you will understand what I'm speaking.
Yeah, sure, Sumit. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll meet tomorrow. The link remains same. Okay. So even if I'm not sending the link, you can join using the same link which you used for today.
Sumit,
Yeah,
Sumit, can
Sushmita.
you? I just want to talk to you for 5 minutes.
All right.
You're free.
I'll give you a call. Is that